Well, hello. Welcome back to another study live session. I'm gonna show my face at the beginning, and hopefully, I will not forget like last time. Well, not last time, but a few lives ago, I basically went to the whole live showing just my face, and I was explaining, and I was saying, and here we're gonna do this and gonna do this, and basically, I was doing stuff, but I was just showing my face, and nobody told me that I was just showing my face the whole live and basically explaining code that nobody could see. So I'm gonna change to the view where you guys can see the code, and we're gonna get started in about 1 minute. I'm gonna give a chance for anybody to join, and then we will get started from where we left off last time on in the Freecodecamp JavaScript course. Now, if your first time here, we're basically going through a JavaScript course on Freecodecamp, and we're basically going to all the lessons. Now, I already been working with JavaScript for over a year now, but I'm going to hold the course in case I miss something, and I'm also trying to explain things along the way for any people that are newer to JavaScript. All right, so I guess if more people are gonna join, they're gonna join later on, so we can get started from where we left off last time. And we are on this new, basically they have some kind of exercises, and they say check if a value is classified as a Boolean primitive. And they say return true or false. Boolean primitives are true and false. So basically you have to check if whatever you get in this function is true or false, and return true or false if it's a Boolean value. And at the moment, like for example, I mean this should work as it is, but they say boo of a Boolean primitive should return false. Boohoo of 1 to 3 should return false. What? Oh, right. Yeah, so basically this should return false because it's not a Boolean value. So you have to check if it's a Boolean value, and if it's a Boolean value, you return true, otherwise you return false. And the way we're going to do it, I'm going to copy this in Visual Studio Code, and what we're going to use, we're basically going to use the type of operator which checks the type of a value. And we're going to say return, and we're going to say type of, and we're going to say type of bool. And I have these nice Visual Studio extensions which is like so clever sometimes. Like for example, look, it recommends me exactly what I have to write, like it reads my mind. It basically looks through thousands of other code that was written before, and it gives me like kind of artificial intelligence recommendations, which is nice. So I'm basically saying return type of bool equals boolean. So basically when you use type of before a value, it tells you what type it is. So for example, if I just comment this for a bit and I say console log, and we learned this in one of the previous lessons, so if you watch the lessons from before from my playlist, you can find this somewhere. So if I say type of 2, it should give me number because 2 is type number, right? So it should say number. Let me run this, and you get number because this is a number. If you put here a string like this, you should get type string, right? You get string. If you say type of and you put like an object, you should get object, right? And if you put type of true, which is a boolean, you get boolean, right? You get boolean. So what we're going to say here, return type of bool equals boolean. So if type of bool is actually boolean, then boolean equals boolean will be evaluated to true. So if it's actually boolean, this will return true, otherwise it will return false, right? So I hope that was simple enough. Let's run the tests. All right, let me check if oh, Julian, you're here. How are you, my man? You doing well? How is programming going? All right, a new one. Title case a sentence. Return the provided string with the first letter of each word capitalized. Make sure the rest of the word is in lowercase. For the purpose of this exercise, you should also capitalize connecting words like the and of. So let's copy this here, and I'm gonna basically console log this to see if I'm doing the right thing, right? Console log the result of calling this. Good and slack kick, but still at it. Where are you? How I assume you are into the JavaScript now. How is JavaScript studying going? Um, and thanks for the like, by the way. I assume that was for you, from you. Um, so basically, what they want us to do is, given a string, they want us to return this string, but with all the first letters of each word capitalized, and all the other ones should be lowercase, right? So we could say something like this. We could say string to lowercase, because in case there's like any letters inside, like uppercase, we want to lowercase first everything. So we're gonna say to lowercase. This is a method that you can use on string. This is gonna make everything lowercase. And then we could, for example, split, and we basically learned all these methods in the previous before. I also have YouTube videos on my channel about most of these methods, so you can check them out if you don't know how they work. And we can split this by space, space. So we're gonna make an array of all the words. Then we want to map to all the words, right? So through all the words one by one, and we want to return word of 0, right, which is basically the first letter, and we're gonna say that this one to uppercase, we want to make it uppercase, to uppercase, right, and we call this to uppercase. So we have this first uppercase letter, and then we want to add the rest of the word, without that first letter, like it is, right? So we're just gonna say word plus word slice, and we're gonna slice from the index 1, and we're not gonna give a second argument, because if we slice from 1 and we don't give a second argument, it's gonna slice from 1 to the end of the word, right? And then after we map to all of them and put all of the words in the array to have uppercase letters, then we can just join it back by a space, right? So to go through it again, we're making the string all lowercase, then we're splitting it by space, making an array of all the words. We're mapping to all the words one by one, so we're looping to them, and for each word, instead of returning the word, we're returning the first letter uppercase plus everything that's after it, right? And then we're joining that array, each element, we're joining them by space, making the sentence again, right? So if I clear this and I run it, as you see, everything is uppercased at the beginning of the words, right? So let's copy this and go here and run it, and that works. Okay, don't know if Julian is still there, because I haven't got any message back from him, but I'll check again later. All right, let me know if you have any questions about what we're going to, whoever's watching. All right, slice and splice. You are given two arrays and an index. Copy each element of the first array into the second array in order. Guys, give me a second. I need to tell some people to be a little bit more quiet. Estela, can you be a bit more quiet, please? Estela, can you be a bit more quiet, please? Can you be a bit more quiet, please? Alright, we're back. So they're saying copy each element of the first array into the second array in order. Begin inserting elements at index n of the second array. Return the resulting array. The input arrays should remain the same after the function runs. What? Return the resulting array. Okay, so they say they should remain the same, so they don't want us to use splice on the original array, right? So let me copy this here, and from what I understood, I don't know if I understand it correctly, but given two arrays, array 1 and array 2, they want to copy all the elements of array 1 in array 2 in order beginning at index n, but these two should not be modified. Return resulting array, the input arrays. So basically they want us to create a new array, not actually in array 2, but they want us to create a new array. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to create a copy here. I'm going to say const r2 copy, and we're creating a copy. The way you create a copy, you don't just say const r2 copy equals array 2, because that will basically just point to the same address. What you want to do is you want to spread it. You want to spread its element into a new array. So we're gonna spread r2 here, right? And but actually the thing is, I think because they're saying slice and splice, I think you can basically, what they want us to do is actually, instead of using the spread operator, you can also make a copy, from what I remember, by saying array to slice, and you don't give any parameters. And if you don't give any parameters to slice, it's just gonna make a copy of it, but basically make a copy, not actually give the same address, right? So it's just gonna copy the element into a new array, right? So now that we have this copy of array 2, what we want to do is from index n, we want to put all the elements of array 1 inside it, right? So we can say, I think, array 2 copy slice, and we want from index n, because they say from index n, to delete how many elements? 0, right? We want to delete 0 elements, and then we want to introduce all the elements of array 1. So we can say, we can basically spread array 1 here, right? We can spread all these elements, and it's gonna add all these elements at this place, right? So now we just want to return array 2 copy. Let's see if this works. It should work. Okay, so maybe I didn't understand exactly what they wanted. You are given 2 arrays and an index. Copy each element of the first array into the second array in order. Begin inserting elements at index n of the second array. Oh, the mistake is that here I use slice. I was supposed to use splice, because with splice is where you can introduce new elements into a new array when you're splicing, right? You can basically splice something out, like take something out and put something in place of it, right? So here we say beginning at index n, delete 0 elements and put these elements instead, right? So you want to use here splice, not slice, because slice just cuts parts of an array, right? So let's run this. And yeah, this works. I basically use slice instead of splice. I also have a YouTube video about this one, the difference between slice and splice, and I think I explained them pretty well there if you want to have a watch at that. Alright, and guys, Julian, what are you laughing about? And guys, if you didn't already give a like to the live, I would appreciate one, as YouTube will push this content to more people, so more people can get onto the discussion. And also let me know if you have any questions. All right. Falsy bouncers. Remove all falsy values from an array. Falsy values in JavaScript are false, null, 0, undefined, and none. And here it says hint, try converting each value to a boolean. So here basically they give us an array to the function, and they want us to remove from the array all the falsy values, which are basically false, null, 0, and undefined. And this can actually also mean to keep only the truthy values. So removing the falsy value means keep just the truthy values. So the way we can say that, we can say return array, and we can say filter, and then filter is like this, right? And we say element, and we want to check that the element here, basically we use the negate operator, the not operator, we use it twice, which basically transforms a value to either a truthy or a falsy value, and we use it twice. So if the value is truthy, it's gonna transform it in the boolean true. If the value is falsy, it's gonna make it the wait, what am I doing here? No, so you just use it. Yeah, you use it twice, because let's I got confused a little bit there. So let's say you have a truthy value, which for example is like this, like 2 is a truthy value. If you use the negate operator, the negate operator is basically gonna transform its truthy falsy to the other side. So because this is truthy, you will get false when you do this, right? If I comment this and I console log this, right, this should be false, because this is a truthy value, and if you use the not operator on it, like the negate operator, is gonna transform it in false, right? So let's run this, and you get false. So if you want to see if this is a like a false or truthy value, you just use it twice, right? Instead of negating, you just kind of just convert it to false or true by using it twice. So now I will get true, because this is a truthy value. And if I do it for a falsy value like this, that should give me false, right? So here what we want to say is return only the elements, because here when you're filtering the elements, it's only gonna keep the elements from which this function returns true. So if we're saying okay, negate the element, it means this will be true only if the elements are truthy. So then it will filter for only the elements that have a truthy value, right? because only then this will evaluate to true. So let's copy this and let's run the tests. All right. You are in, yeah. Julian is like, I was in my head like, wow, the neighbors are pretty loud. Literally, next thing you know, you got up and went to tell them to lower it down. Well, that's actually my housemate's family, you know. But the falsy was I'll false. Sorry, Alex, I'm not sure what you mean. Could you clarify that? So basically, this is like a falsy value. Let me comment this. So like an empty string is a falsy value. So because it's a falsy value, if you use the negate operator on it, that will transform it in true, right? But if you use it twice, you will get exactly what it is. This is a falsy value, so if you use the not operator on it twice, it will just transform it to a boolean and you would get false. While if this is a truthy value, like a string that's not empty, for example, for this you will get true, right? And because this function, they say in this function to only return the elements that are truthy, well, they say to remove all the elements that are falsy. That means to only keep the elements that are truthy. And the way the filter method works is you get each element one by one, and if this function here returns true, then it will keep that element, otherwise it will not keep it. So because we're saying this operator twice before the element, this will return true only for the elements that are truthy, so it will only keep the truthy elements in. That makes sense. Yeah, no worries. I'm glad you got it. All right, so going to the next one, it says, where do I belong? Return the lowest index at which a value, second argument. So this second argument should be the lowest index at which a value, second argument, should be inserted into an array first arguments once it has been sorted. The return value should be a number. For example, get index to ins from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1.5 should return 1 because it is greater than 1, index 0, but less than 2. Likewise, get index to insert 23, 5, 19 should return 2 because once the array has been sorted, it will look like this: 3, 5, 20, and 19 is less than 20, so it should be put here. So basically, from what they're saying, we have to sort the array, and then in the sorted array we need to we need to find where that element would belong, right, at what index. And I think this one should be a pretty easy one, because what we can do is, I'll copy this function, and the way we'll approach it is we're gonna sort the array first, right? So we will say const sorted equals array sort, and the way you from what I remember, I mean, this needs a little bit of experimentation because I can never remember exactly if this is how it is. But array sort basically gets a function, and you have an A and B, and if you want to sort going from the lowest to highest, I think you have to return A minus B, and this should sort it ascending, I think. If not, you just do it the other way around, b minus A if that doesn't work, because it's one of the other. One of it is to sort it ascending, and one of it to sort it descending. And once you have it sorted, then what you want to do is you say return, and what you want to do is you want to find the index of the first element that's higher than number, and then just return that index minus one. Because once you find, because when you use the index of well, find index method, that's gonna give you the first element that 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 is true for a condition. So if I say return find index, I use this method find index. Well, I have to say array because this is a method. So I say array find index, and here you pass a function which when that function returns true for an element, then that the first element index is gonna be returned. So I'm gonna say element, right? So it takes each element one by one, and I will say element is higher than number, right? So once it's sorted, this find the index element will go through each element one by one, and it will check, is this one higher than number? No. Is this one higher than number? No. Is this one higher than number? Yes. And if it's higher than number, then it will return the index of that first element. And if there's no element that this condition is true for, then this will return minus one. So I mean, there should be one element for which the condition is true. So we just say return this minus one. This should work, unless we have to basically account for some edge case. But let's just see if they have some edge cases. Number is not defined. Okay, so here I said element is higher than number, but you just have num here, not number, because this is how they have it, num, right? Okay, so I'm getting some mistake. 60 should return 1. Okay, so maybe it's the other way around here. Maybe that's the mistake. B minus A. Okay, so I'm having some mistake here. Is higher. Okay, so let's figure out. Let's do a console log here in the function of the sorted and see first if we're sorting properly. A minus B. Are we not getting the console logs? Oh, I didn't console log nothing. Let's console log sorted. Okay, so we are, I think we are, why is it not doing all the console? Okay, yeah, so we are doing them properly. Then element is higher than number, so we're looking for the first element that is higher than number. Am I supposed to put this in parentheses? I'm not sure what the problem is. Okay, let's console log. Okay, I'm having a bit of an issue with this one because I'm not sure what the problem is, but we can see. Let's console log both this and this. Okay, so it says 1. Okay, so this is correct. Thank you very much for the like. Okay, so let's see where the problem is. Should return 1. 4060 should return 1, but oh, I see what it is. I do not have to. Wait, why don't I have to? Oh, I see. It's yeah. So basically, once you find a element that is higher, you actually have to put its index, not its index minus 1, because you basically gonna have to put number. Number should be where that element is, because number is less than it, so it should be exactly where that element is at the moment. So For example, when you have 40 and 60, this element is as index 1. So when you find the first number that's higher than 50, it's at index 1, where the 50 number would be inserted because it's less than this one. So basically you have to return the index that you find at the index minus 1, because the lower number would take the place of the number that's immediately higher. So let me know if you understand what I mean there, but yeah, that was a bit confusing. So here we don't have to extract 1, we just have to return the index that we find. All right. What? Element is higher than number. Wait, I thought I found the issue. What's going on here? This is getting confusing. Element is higher than number. Okay, so now I'm getting for other ones of 30 should return 2. Okay, is okay. So here is basically because these things are lower or equal, right? So here we have to say element is higher or equal to number, right? Okay, so we're passing more tests now. 2, 5, 10, 15 should return 3. Okay, so we have these cases where we either have in an empty array and we're saying we should return at 1, we should return 0, and here there's no higher element, so we should return basically 3, which is a new index, right? So we can say here, we can say we can find the index first, right? Well, first of all, we can have an edge case here at the beginning where we're saying if r length equals 0, return 0, because if there's no elements, then the element should be inserted at position 0, right? And then here we can say const index equal to whatever we were returning before, and then we can say return, and then we can use a ternary operator, which is basically like an if, and we say index equal to -1. If index equal to -1, it means it hasn't found any number that's higher than the number that is passed here. So if that's the case, then this number should be put at the end of the array, and the index of the new index that would be inserted at the end of the array is actually the array length. So we basically can just say array length, which would be the index of the new element. Otherwise we return the index, right? So let's recapitulate. We're saying if there's no element in the array, then we return the index 0, because that's where it should be inserted. It should be the first element in the array. Otherwise, we're sorting the array like ascending, and then we find the index of the element that's higher than the number. If there's no element that's higher than the number, this index would be -1, so we're returning the array length. Otherwise, we return the index because we're inserting basically in the place of the element that's higher. And you can see how we basically solved through quite a few bugs. This is how it works in programming always. Okay. Oh, and I have 4 people watching. Guys, if you're watching and you enjoy some of this, I would appreciate a like, as YouTube will push this content to more people. And hello, and say hello in the chat if you would like. All right, we have here mutations. Return true if the string in the first element of the array contains all of the letters of the string in the second element of the array. For example, hello, hello should return true because all of the letters in the second string are present in the first string, ignoring case. So we're ignoring if it's uppercase or lowercase. The arguments hello, hey should return false because the string hello does not contain y. Thank you very much for the like, much appreciated. Lastly, I forgot how to say alien. All right. Lastly, alien line should return true because all of the letters in line are present in alien. Right. So we have line. All of the letters from the second string are present in the first string. Right. Okay. So I'm gonna copy this in here, and basically, what's gonna be passed to this function is gonna be an array with two strings, one and then we have to check if the first string contains all the letters of the second string, ignoring upper or lowercase, right? So I'm just gonna keep it simple this time. I'm just going to say const. We can basically use this structuring. I don't know if you learned about this structuring at some point, but basically if you have an array like that has, for example, some elements like thank you very much for the like for example, we have an array. I'm just gonna like put this to the side for a bit, and let's say you have an array const numbers equals 1 2 3 4, right? And you want to put the first two elements of the array in two separate variables, you can basically deconstruct values from the array in new variables while you're creating the variables. So for example, I can say something like const, and I make something like kind of an array, and I say const number, thank you very much for the like, const number 1 and number 2, and we're saying this is equal to numbers, which is basically this array that has this value, right? And when this happens, what's gonna happen, we're gonna have available two variables, a variable called number 1 and number 2, which basically is gonna get, number 1 is gonna get the first value here, and number 2 is gonna get the first value. And we could have, for example, number 3, number 4, and I could put even number 5. But if I put number 5 is actually going to be undefined because there's no element at number 5, right? So let's see if I console log, for example, number 3, console log number 3. I'm going to clear this, and you can see that in the variable number 3 you get 3 because the third element is 3, right? So it's put in this one. If I console log number 5, which we don't have a fifth element here, we get undefined because it's not defined, right? So basically you can deconstruct in new variables values from an array. So going back to the function, which let's remind ourselves, we have to check that all the letters in the second string are present in the first string. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say const, and I'm going to deconstruct the words first and second equals to array, right? And this is going to give me the first word here and the second word here, right? And then I'm going to make a variable that's a boolean, and I'm going to say true, right? Well, not true, I'm going to say let all present, and I'm going to start by saying that it is true. I'm going to say that all of them are true, right? But actually there's a problem here because we basically need to check for lowercase, and I want to make these ones I want to make them so I be able to change them, because after that I want to say first equals first to lowercase. I'm gonna make them all lowercase so that I don't have to check every time if it's uppercase or lowercase. So I'm just gonna make them lowercase because we don't care about case, right? So then I'm going to say I'm going to begin by assuming that all the letters from the second string are present in the first strings, and I'm going to assume that that's true. And then I'm going to basically make a loop. I'm going to say for let I equal 0. So you start from index 0. I is less than not array length, but actually second length, which is basically what we're doing. We're basically going through all, we're going to make a loop that goes as many times as how many letters second has. So we're going from 0 to less than second length, because you're going on until second length minus 1, which is the index of the last letter in the string, right? So we're going to go through all letters, and I'm going to say, I'm not sure if I think strings also have the method includes. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to say first. If that doesn't work, we can figure out. But I'm going to say if first, which is the first word, includes, and I'm going to say if it includes second of I, which is basically uh, this current letter that we are at the moment from the second word. If it includes it, we don't want to do something if it includes it. We want to do something if it doesn't include it. So because this is say if this includes the letter, we want to basically negate this. So we're saying if this doesn't include the letter, then what we want to say is we basically at this moment we say all present equals false, right? So basically, once we find a letter that's not from in the second word, that is not included in the first word, we're making all present false. And at this moment, I'm actually also gonna say break, which when I'm using break in a for loop, is just basically gonna stop the loop at this moment, so it doesn't just go through all the letters when we already found out that there's a letter that is not in the first word, right? So now we can just say return all present, right? So it's basically gonna return true or false depending of. And now is the moment of truth to see if includes actually works on string. I don't know if it includes or contains, but let's see. Oh, it worked from the first time. Hello Dinesh, welcome to the live. I hope you enjoyed and you learned something. So Alex Posh says maybe if you create a new array with all the elements and sort it and then find the index of the mentioned element. Yeah, I didn't read this comment before, but it's exactly what I did, so I'm glad we're thinking alike. Obviously I went through a few errors, but we got there. Yeah, hello Dinesh, welcome to the live if this is your first time, and hope you learned something. Let me know if I can answer any question. Alright, we're close to the end of this module, after which we're gonna go through, we're gonna start the object-oriented JavaScript module. Alright, let's go to the next challenge. Chunky Monkey, they say, write a function that splits an array, the first argument that they pass, into groups the length of size second argument and returns them as a two-dimensional array. Right, so if you have an array like this, basically it splits it in an array with A, B, and C, D, right? So to explain exactly what they want, like I was saying, if you have an element like this, like if it's passed an array like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let's say 7, and then you get past a size of 2, what should be returned should be an array of arrays, which is going to be like this: 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the last one just 7, because there's not another element for it, right? So I think this one would be a good candidate to use the reduce method, but we're gonna keep it more we're gonna keep it simpler, and actually let me have a think about this one. If you have any, which extension I'm using for GitHub, um, I think I'm using a few of them. There, let me just look what I have for GitHub. Git. So I have Git Lens, Git Supercharge, and GitHub pull requests, but I don't think I use this one much. Let me see if I can change here. As you can see, I'm not an expert of Visual Studio Code, but yeah, I know I'm using this one, Supercharge the Git capabilities built into Visual Studio Code. Yeah, I hope that helps. I don't know if you have that one or not, but yeah, I was yeah, thanks for the compliment, Julian. You dozed off, huh? Are you tired from work? Alright, so if you remember, we have to split this array into arrays of this size. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to use reduce, the reduce method, and I'm going to say return array reduce. I'm just thinking what's the best way to do this. It's funny because I had to do this recently, and I actually think I did a YouTube video about it, but all right, let's just do it simple. So we're gonna say we're basically gonna say while, actually we're gonna say for let, well, I'm gonna create an array, a new array first. I'm going to say const r of arrays, and I'm going to say it's empty, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something like this. I think this should be really simple. What I'm going to do is for let I equals 0, I less than array length, because we want to go from the beginning to the end of the array. Well, r length I plus plus, and what we want to do here, I think what we want to do is we want to have an index that that starts at 0. So we're gonna say let index of array, and this is basically gonna be the number of the array in the new array at which we run, and we're starting with 0 because we're starting with an array at the position 0 in the new array that we're returning, because we're gonna have an array with arrays like this, right? And the first one is gonna be at index 0, so we're starting with an index 0, right? And what we're going to say, I think we have to say if I modulo size it's is it modulo? Oh man. Yeah, I'm a bit tired because I wake up from 5 o'clock in the morning. But let's see if we have, for example, element at index 0 and at index 1, and we have to split in two, this 2 modulo will basically give you 0, 1 modulo 2. All of these will give you 0, and then when you have a new one, like actually this, I'm getting so lost here, so no wonder Julian is dozing off. All right. No, so I think we may be going the wrong way. um Trying to think of a better way, because this one is a bit complicated. Constant array of arrays. Need some coffee. It's quite weird because you would think JavaScript would maybe have a method to split arrays as well. Uh, right, so I might have to leave this one at the moment because my brain is probably frying, because otherwise I would have solved this by now. But yeah, we I think this is the last one. Maybe we should not give it up because this is the last one, I think, in this module. So let's work a little bit more at it. It's you're not a programmer, but by giving up. So and this is like, I mean, this should be easy, but at this point I'm probably too tired to like even think properly. I know I did this one with redos before. So let's say return array redos, and we have accumulator and value, and let's say index as well, and then we're accumulating in an array, and okay, what we want to say is return. We're going to say a function, and what we're going to say is so what we know is that the index modulo size, I think, should be because if we have 0 and 1, index modulo, and then we have 2 and 3, right, indexes. So we know that when index modulo size, which is like 1 modulo 2 is 1, 3 modulo 2 is 1, and then again 4 modulo 5 is 1, right? Well, 5 modulo 2 is 1 again. So we know when it's like the index modulo the size is 1, then we need to start creating a new array, right? So wait, if it's actually 2, so when it's different, when it's different, oh wait, actually we can go for this. So basically, if this if the index modulo the size is 0, then we have to create a new array, otherwise we're just pushing in the last array, right? So yeah, so finally we're getting there. My brain is starting to defreeze. So what we want to say, we want to say if I hope haven't lost everybody by now. But what we want to say is we're going to say if index modulo the size, whatever it is, equals 0, then we basically want to return the array, right? Well, we don't want to, we're working with the accumulator here. And if you don't know how reduce works, the method reduce, I think I have a video series on using the method reduce, or at least one long video. So that should help you if you want to look more into it. I really love using this method. And basically we are accumulating in the new array, and this is the accumulator, right? It starts with an empty array, and what we want to say is we want to here we want to return every time if index modulo size is 0, then we return whatever the accumulator is at that moment, plus we're starting a new array with the value. So if the index modulo size is 0, it means it should be the first element of a new array. So we basically return the accumulator with all the others arrays and a new array with just that value, so this value, right? Else, which else means if it's any of the other indexes, so else we return, and what we want to say, basically we want to return the accumulator, but push into the last element of the accumulator the value. So what we're going to say, accumulator of accumulator length minus 1. So we're saying into the last element of the array we want to push the value and then return the accumulator, right? So this is really simple. Now you see, like I was thinking but my brain is fried. So if index modulo size is 0, then we have to start a new array. So we're going to return the accumulator with all the other arrays before, and a new array that has this value at first. If it's any of the other indexes, it means it's a new element in an array that's already there, the last array that's already there. So you're basically saying accumulator of accumulator length minus 1, which is the index of the last element, and we want to push the value into it at the end, and then we return the accumulator, right? So let's copy this function here and run the tests. Woo! Finished. I'm unstoppable. Well, I was almost stopped, but I didn't give up. Array length by size. So Dinesh says array slice, array length by size. Okay, I don't know in which context you are talking. It's probably something to do with a method. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one, and next time we're going to start into the object-oriented JavaScript module, and we have a few modules left. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a good evening or day wherever you are. And if you didn't already give a like, please give a like. It will really help me with the YouTube algorithms. And I see you next time. Bye bye for now.